All right, on the back side here, this is going to just let us see the difference of the solving a little bit with the positive and negative cases. We looked at this kind of way for the negative case in the other section of chapter P where we talked about absolute values, where we've got the positive case where it stays the same, the negative case where we have the negative out in front, and that changes the sign like we did on the front, that when you distribute the negative, it changes the sign. So we could solve these. I'm confident you guys could do that. So there we're going to get 2 and negative 2/3. Now, again, we're seeing the impact of it with some inequality signs. When I solve this, adding 2, I'll get 3x is less than or equal to 6. Dividing by 3, x is less than or equal to 2. I did not switch the sign because I divided by something positive. Here, distributing on one side doesn't count for switching the sign yet. But as I do the same solving steps as I did up above, what I'm seeing now is now that I'm dividing by the negative 3 here, dividing by something negative switches the sign. That's why I could anticipate now in this one, the solving steps for these are the same. That means I'm still going to get x and 2, but the sign wouldn't change, so I'm going to keep it the same. But here, the sign has to change, and I'm going to get negative 2/3. Now, the graphs of these, we've got the two different situations going on. Up here, like we talked about on the front, if you were to graph them individually, with negative 2/3 and 2, you'd start to see them go in on each other because we're looking for numbers less than 2, but at the same time, I'm looking for numbers bigger than negative 2/3. Here, negative 2/3 and 2, I'm looking for numbers bigger than 2, but I'm also looking for numbers less than 2/3. Those go away from each other. Just a little review about that. Down here is what I'm really interested in if you're able to do this. This is kind of the level you're going to be comfortable with for your quiz. So take a look at this. If I do with the solving algebraically, I need the positive case, and then I also need the negative case. So here, solving, subtracting 3, x is going to be less than or equal to 1. Over here, let's distribute that negative. Let's add 3. Let's divide by negative 1, meaning I'm going to switch the sign. I get my answers there. On and here, you've got negative 7 and 1 in your number line. I want numbers less than 1, less than or equal to. So it's going in. Here, greater than negative 7, greater numbers are to the right. We've got the middle situation. So here's where we're going to find our answers. But now let's go to the calculator. Remember that this is going to be in y1, and that's going to be y2. Let's double check these answers because you are going to have a non-calculator and calculator section of your next quiz. So you're going to need to be able to do it algebraically, but also with the calculator. So y1, absolute value of x plus 3. Maybe you had this in here before and you could edit it to figure it out. Or maybe you're someone who needs to retype it in. Relook at video 1 for those steps. But here, if I hit the graph, I'm seeing a couple intersection points. Now this might be a little distorted from yours Because if I hit zoom 6, it gets us that standard view. That might now match up with what you see. So with this here, I want to solve for those intersection points, because if I didn't do any of the algebra, I want to know how to graph this. I know that y equals 4 for y2 is a horizontal line, but I got to know where exactly is that v crossing the horizontal line. So second calc, option 5, first curve, what's the first thing that we want to cross of the two objects? While we're on the v, that's one of them. Then it auto jumps you to object 2. There you go with that. Enter, enter. It tells you it crosses at the point 1, 4. So you know this is going to be an intersection point for your v. Then, over here, you could redo the intersection commands there, and you're going to get the -7 we solved for algebraically. So we'll go a couple tick marks out to get -7. Now we know the v is going to be made, but we don't know where the center of the v is. So center, kind of like average, is in the middle. So when I want to find the middle, we're going to rethink about that midpoint formula we did earlier in chapter P. So we got to think, what's halfway between 1 and -7? So -7 and 1 cut in half. -7 plus 1, 6. 6 divided by 2, or -6 divided by 2 is -3. So I know then that my center is going to be at -3. We see it right on the axis. We haven't done any more translations. It's always going to be on the axis. Maybe you want to tell yourself this, that the center is the midpoint, and that is why we're doing that. So we've got the shape of our V now, and we could write the answer as an interval. So our interval answer, we got to decide. Well, now it's less than is below. So because it's below, I'm going to want this section of the V. You can see this highlighted section here of the V. That's the point we want. It begins at -7. It ends at +1. And we have the line underneath, so we want equal to. It might take you a couple minutes, but try number 6. Pause the video. See if you can really do this. All right, there's your answer. Double check your work. I put all the parts on there for you. All the algebra steps. There's your number line. Here's your graph that you would have gotten on your calculator. Here's the interval and the midpoint calculation to get the center of your V, the point in your V. If you got questions on this, let me know.